So what I'm doing is going into what we call YouTube Studio. This is kind of where people ask questions and things like that. So give me a second here.
Hey, you're in charge. Charge.
Charge forward. Okay. We're going into an area called community, and that's where people ask questions pertaining to our videos and so forth. So give me a second to. Okay. So remember when I was inquiring with you to turn up your sound and so forth, the reason why that came up was this gentleman here. He said, can we get Lindell to get a proper microphone? Because, of course, he wasn't hearing the audio. And I said, the short answer is no. I said, Lindell has mics and headphones and all kind of equipment on his end. I said, but basically what I would do is just have him adjust his volume and turn the volume up. So we kind of went into that. But let's see here. Raymond says, speaking of our talk, he says, someone set me up again, dang. What he's saying, we talk about this all the time. Raymond saying that somebody set him up and he got distracted and he got off track. Isn't that fairly easy to do, to get off track?
Oh, in an instant and constantly. I mean, you change you don't realize you'll be changing your mind as much as 20 times a minute as your eyes are flashing around. They're taking in all kinds of information, rather than need it or not, you're still taking it in.
Yeah.
And you're doing so all the time. But you see, if you could get it down and focus it, see, what has your attention has your life. Come on, the corporations spend billions and billions of dollars every year just to talk to you, get your attention for a few seconds, most of the time.
That's
And
absolutely.
you don't understand why they're doing it that way, because it's programming. We're being programmed, and we don't know it. We don't know what's happening, so we just kind of go along with what's going on. But you're told to be in the world, but not to be of the world. In other words, you have a mind, direct it. That's what you were put here to do, to direct your mind. And you do so by directing your own inner conversations to yourself. Do you even know what you're talking to yourself about? I thought I did. That trail just gets funnier and funnier. But the point is, you're in charge. You see, God gave you charge, and then he gave you his power to activate that charge. And you're doing so knowingly or unknowingly. Which would you think would be better? Have to give that some thought, huh?
That's absolutely true. And it sounds like most of us are probably doing it unknowingly, but I appreciate Raymond's feedback because, like I said, the wonderful thing is people are getting this stuff now because of the repetition and reiteration and so forth. So that's very much appreciated.
Look. Uh, I can't tell if we all met and shook hands and played nicey with, you know, uh, it's the reiteration and reiteration of a message. If you don't do that part, then the rest of it won't happen. You have to actually hear it over and over and over. Come on, the same way when you were a kid in school. How'd you learn your ABCs and C's and numbers and all that? You had to repeat it over and over and over. You might forget it in a week, but that's the problem. Even when we got it, we lose it because we get distracted and we're not paying attention to what we're allowing ourselves to entertain ourselves with in thought, because that's also your world of experiencing. You're always thinking ahead of your evidence. And if you're not paying attention, you're using the power through your say, and your say is a valid say. And if you're not careful, well, don't start imagining what'll happen then. Just, just stop it, drop it. If it isn't serving you anymore, drop it. Feel after him and you'll find him. And the finding him is you in a vision, seeing him being, doing what it is you desire to do. And then it gets released. All vision has its appointed hour of releasement. And if you don't change it, which is what really happens 99% of the time, they change a good idea going in and going to work, and then it's just all over because they're not paying attention. I don't know why. I don't know why. No, yeah, I do know why. I know why. Yeah, I know why. And I really I really grieve with you that it seems to be so hard, but it isn't. It's just patience.
Yeah.
That's all you need. I have the word patience all over the place there because that was my one main problem. I was so impatient. Everything is hurry, 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 hurry today. And they keep everything hurry, 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 hurry. And then they add music to it, and they add action to it, and they add, oh, come on. They're programming you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it. Jose says here, he says, great job. He was thanking us for it. He said he appreciates you giving your insights. He says, you know, a lot of times people think that there's nothing that can be added to the works of Neville. He said, but that's not the case. He says he feels that your perspective or your view may enlighten many. And he says, you know, thank you both for your insights. So you're absolutely correct. We're in a microwave society, so everything is hairy, hairy, hairy. But the fortunate thing is people are getting it.
Yep. They will. Well, eventually they'll get it anyway.
Yeah.
Eventually, you see, because there's not one left behind. If that isn't a comforting statement, I see these big trucks with people piled in or just dumped in, going down the road, and I'm thinking, you know, people actually went through that. Oh, yeah? People actually went through. They allowed themselves nothing transforming in death.
True. True.
Yeah. Look, you're under a responsibility to do a choosing job. That's the most beautiful thing if you get the right end of it. In other words, you're told, choose this day. Okay. And since it's always this day, you're on all the time. Every word must be accounted for, we're told. That really blew me away. Every word must. be accounted for. But that's it. That's absolutely it. Every word must be accounted for. And if you'll stand up and be the director of your own inner conversations and really listen to what you're saying to yourself, you're going to find out who's in charge. You or the world at large?
Yeah.
Are you being fed instead of feeding? Look, what has your attention has your life. Is it worthy of your attention? Then it's worthy of your life. Look, this is not about being worthy.
Yeah.
It's about being willing. You understand? It's not no. As a matter of fact, Scripture already says that not one's worthy, so that went out the window. But you have a valid say. You were given a valid say, and you're told by God to use your valid say, and you're doing so aware or unaware. Now I ask you, which would you really prefer to act upon, aware or unaware? That's the whole question, isn't it?
It is. And I think that this person, Vic, would agree with you. He says, once he started focusing and watching his self-talk, then things in his life began to change. But Rounder asked the question. He says, you guys talk about that people are gripped about nothing changing. They gripe about nothing changing in their life. But she says, I'm curious, have you heard of people who have worked with the approach and right away they got a result? So let me shorten the question. We talk about it. You say often, it took you years, but it need not take years. You say days, weeks, months, maybe, but it need not take years. So the question is, do you know of people that started using these works and immediately got results?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All down through the 40 years of doing this, I've seen people they hear it and they walk away instantly. And they're actually healed instantly. Well, why? Why is that? Because it's all in mind. All you have to do is draw it up, play the part. And when I say play the part, remember, like Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and all the men and women are merely actors. You understand? Merely actors. And you're playing a part. And our question to you always is, did you choose the part? Or did the part choose you?
That's the question. It's not an easy question because I don't think that most people contemplate to see who's choosing the part, whether it be them or the world.
That's what you have to decide. Where did this come from? Right here. Where did this come from? Right here. It all comes from within. As within, so without. There's no without a within. Hello. All denial, we're told, is self-denial. And people are running around blaming God. I don't know. Just stop and think for a moment. The conveniences that we have every day, at just one finger, you can operate all kinds of things. Just think of the ease and comfort that we have now to the whip.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You want to know if you're taken care of. You're doing a pretty good job of it if you're free of that.
Yeah.
It's attitude awareness. You know, like I said, generally, most of those books on top of the shelf up there,
Hmm.
they're the wise men down through the centuries. And they all agree readily, rapidly on one idea, and that is man is his attitude. You understand? You are your attitudes. Are they lovely and of good report? Are they? Or are they, yeah, the negative? You know something? When I started looking to see what was happening in my world, I discovered I was I was negative.
Hmm.
I mean, I had a negative mind. Whatever came up, I look at the negative side first. Why? Ooh, but I always went to the negative side first. And I thought, well, what are you doing by doing that? Setting the course of your world experiencing. Isn't that it?
It isn't. You know, when people, they hear that, but they really don't understand the magnitude at that point, because we've talked about it off, camera, you were dealing with 40 years of programming, and most of that programming, whether it be from your experiences in the military, life in general, whatever, was negative. So when they hear you say that you were negative, they don't grasp the magnitude of that story. They hear this nice old man that they know now today, and they think, oh, that's just so nice. They don't understand the depths. And I do, because my own story kind of parallels at times, and so everybody thinks that they're unique, and they think that they're going through the storm alone, and that nobody else has experienced what it is that they've experienced. The wonderful thing about your story is there's a coming out on the other side. And for the last 50 years, you've been teaching from the other side.
Yeah. But the thing of it is that actually I'm just a voice.
Yeah.
It's not coming from me. It's coming through me. Understand that. And that's very important for you to understand, and it's very important for me to keep it in mind that I'm not what's important here. It's you hearing the message.
Mm-hmm.
And this really, you believe it or not, that's okay. If you hear it,
Yeah.
see, it's recorded and it's in there. It's in there. And you can bring it up. Anytime you're willing to sit silent for a few minutes, you can bring it up and you can live it out. And that's what you want to do, because it's as you think you are, and if you're aware of that, what you're thinking, then you're aware of where you're going, what you're doing, what you're being, and what you will be, because you're always thinking ahead of your evidence. You know so much more than you know that you know, right?
Absolutely. I want to talk. One of the reasons why I wanted to come out here was Emma. Emma had a question, so I want to address her question. I may break it up into a couple of parts, but I'll start with the first portion of it. She says, hey, thanks for these conversations. If you ever do a question and answer with Lindell, I do have one question, which is, I'd like to know his answer. The question is, how can a person move into a new state of consciousness if his or her body is stuck in the past? Does that make sense, or do I need to rephrase it?
Oh yeah, you just drop it off.
I'm laughing because I do the answer, but I wanted her to hear you saying it, because I think that we overcomplicate it. And she's going to hear the answer and she's going to think to herself, that's too simple. But expound on that. You said just drop it off.
Hey, everybody's hyper.
Yeah.
Huh? Come on, hurry, 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 hurry. Everything is hurry, hurry. And then they add music to it to make sure you don't forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And all, like I said, all little antics that go on, and they keep your attention and they keep programming it and programming it and and you just
Yeah.
you think I'm kidding you, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I went through this. I know exactly what happened. For years, I was such an idiot,
Hmm.
and but it seemed okay because I was an idiot.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I
Now,
mean,
go ahead. Okay, so I want to kind of delve down into hers. You said just drop it, just drop it. So she's dealing with anxiety. And as we often say, even with anxiety, worry, stress, whatever, that's the prayer. If that's what you're holding on to, that's the prayer. So how would you address that?
yeah, actually, you're right. People do not. You wouldn't find 1 in 100 who actually know how to relax.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about on a beach in a lounge chair and drinks and all of that and sun, umbrellas, and I'm not speaking that kind of relief. I'm speaking of absolute relief of responsibility to the whole world to be one with yourself. But that means you have to have a state of mind. And you can have a state of mind. Just join it, join with it, act it out. Get visions of you being, doing, and having everything you want to do. See you visioning you doing it and enjoying it. And that's what you're told to do. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Why tell you to do something like that if you're incapable of doing it? And who would know if you were capable? And he says you are. You keep telling me you're not. See, and so that's the impasse we got to get around, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said something. She even mentions it here. She says Neville talks about meditation or focusing on being. People know the answer because Emma has really just called off the answer. Now, we say week after week is enter into your closet with your father who's in secret, go into the silence. People don't want to do that. You said it earlier, everybody's Harry, Harry, Harry. Emma and everybody that's dealing with stress and anxiety, they need to get quiet, as you stated a moment ago. They need to go into the silence. They need to connect with their father. You said self. They need to connect with their inner self, their inner being, and know that I'm God.
Yeah, come on. And then and he says, I am with you always. That one blew me away. When it finally hit bottom, boom, it just blew me away that God would say something like that. And then I realized it's all God. It's
Absolutely.
all mind. Mind is all things to all. What are you doing in mind right now? Thinking feelingly about, oh, you're probably thinking greatly right now. But what about a couple hours from now or after dinner tonight? What are you going to be doing? Watching television or what? That one-eyed peephole into paradise. Yeah, that's right. That's what I was told it was. But I don't believe it. You know something? I should have let this week pass. I don't think I could have taken another one. I love everybody. I love everybody, but go home.
I'm kind of like that at times. I love having the company, but it's nice seeing them come, but it's nice seeing them go.
We had at one time 7 people, and then my wife and I, that's 9 people. And then we got rid of them, and then got rid of them, and then the next group comes in the next day, 4 days, and that's 4 people. And there would just be people coming out of everywhere, you know. And in this house, it's just my wife and I,
I know.
you know,
Yeah.
and I love it. We just love it.
You know, and people don't understand for somebody that's listening and you're not accustomed to having your own space. And then all of a sudden that space is released to, let's say, this case, 9 folks, and it's different. You can't, when I have the grandchildren at the house and so forth, I can't move through the house the same way I do when it's
Oh
just me
yeah.
and the wife. So I have to be mindful of my dress. I have to be mindful of closing doors. And sometimes you can forget that you got company. So I have to purposely be mindful. Okay, I got guests in the house. So I do understand the dynamics of when it's just you and Patricia, and then when other people, even if it's just one person, it makes a difference.
Oh yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And she said that if I go first, she's gonna stay right here and maintain the whole thing. And by
Mm-hmm.
God, she can do it.
Yeah, yeah, she
And,
can.
she'll get other people, old man gardeners,
Mm-hmm.
that, and just hire them and
Yeah,
get it all
absolutely,
done.
absolutely, absolutely.
And she's a worker. I mean,
She is.
she is really a worker. And
But
she,
both of you are. Yeah, different, but both of you are, because you get out there in that garage, you get out there and start fiddling with things, you start pruning those trees. And so the two of you collectively are worker bees. You make things happen. So absolutely.
well, I got the stinger stone. Uh, yeah. Thing of it is, I get tired so easy.
Yeah.
But then again, too, that does the very thing for me that I really love to do, and that's go sit down and be still.
Mm-hmm.
Because, listen, you're told, and I don't care if you seem to be religious or not or any of that. That doesn't matter. You're told, be still and know that I'm God. I keep asking this question to people all the time. What are you waiting for? What is it that you're waiting for? There actually, when you get right down to it, there's only now.
Yeah.
Well, you either do it now or never.
Yeah.
And so when you put it off till Thursday, I went. It was already out the door with his hat on. See, people don't realize how much responsibility that they have for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
100%, because you were given choose this day, and it's always this day, and you are choosing because God said you're choosing, so you are choosing. But what are you choosing? Because that's your world of everyday experiencing, and you're given to be able to change it, change your mind, change your world. Your mind is all things to all. God is all things to all. There is only God. But this drama, this play, this humanity, it's a virtual reality. It's not even reality because reality is changeless. And this is changing moment by moment. I mean, mom grabbed from here and she said, yeah, changing moment by moment. But you see, that's you changing moment by moment. You're saying those things thinking they just went away, but no, no, no. They didn't fall into the past. They're in your future. So
You said
work it out,
something. Yeah,
people. Work it out.
work it out. Work it out. So I want to go back and wind down on my comment with her. You told her and the audience in general, choose. And she's saying at one point, let's go back to, you used to have these conversations and somebody would come in for an interview and they say, well, you don't care about my problem because this is kind of where we're at. People think that their problem is unique but problems are changed the same way by each individual by choosing that new desired end, correct?
You, you get out of a problem the same way you got in it. There it is. That's exactly right. You got it absolutely right. You get out of the problem the same way you got into it. You're the acting power and you can do a thing and you shall have the power. God gave you choice and that changed everything. When he gave man choice to choose and he even gave himself to you, in his sleep state, because this is a dream. Believe me, this is a dream going on right here, right now. You're involved every moment of time. You're on all the time. You're talking to yourself morning and noon and night, but about what? Is that it's that important word again.
What?
What?
Anxiety, stress, fear. Then you're praying for more of that.
And
Love. Go
that's
ahead.
your jet fuel.
Say that again.
I say that's your jet fuel.
Absolutely.
It is.
It is.
And up there you go. See, everybody's so worried about their being faithful. Well, absolutely, you're here. And if you were being faithful, you wouldn't be here. You'd be out telling this story to somebody else. Because that's all it is. It's the individual's life story. You're choosing day by day, moment by moment, your world of experiencing, whether you're aware of it or not. And all we're trying to tell you is aware is better. Wouldn't I say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can almost say it again. Aware is better.
What do you need to convince you? You need to listen to the talks. You don't need many of them because they all, any one of them will give you enough information to change your mind, change your will. And it's in every one of those two or three
CDs.
hundred.
Yeah. Or even our talks. Absolutely. And the CDs. And
Yep.
the CDs.
CDs, DVDs, tapes,
Absolutely.
hymns, songs.
Videos, YouTube, all of
Yep.
it.
Yep.
You said something. I agree. They can listen to literally any one of the talks and they'll get the answer. Because even though we may say it in a different way, we're still saying it as you think, you are, you do, you be, you have.
That's it. Why is it you don't believe God? You see, that's what it comes down to, isn't it?
You know what? Let me answer that question. because they're looking at his messengers. It's like the time of Moses. They were looking at Moses when Miriam was given leprosy because they started speaking against Moses and his new wife. And God struck Miriam and kept her outside the camp for a number of days. When we speak this message, they see DeCarlo, they see Lindell, and they say, oh, this is a good message. But they don't realize we're just conduits, messengers of the message, postmen.
All we're here to do is to make you aware that you're talking to yourself as your world of experiencing. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Since it's that simple, what are you whining about? You know, you know, I would go there and I thought, these people are whining and crying to God, who gave them everything. I mean, I just can't imagine it. Well, obviously, that's the way it is. You have to make up your own mind. We can't do that for you. All we can do is give you information. If you use the information, that's wonderful. If you don't use the information, well, you will eventually anyway. And all you're doing is just putting off the date because you will do it anyway. God has said so. And you're not more than God. So there it is. It's all finished. It's all done already. If you just learn to relax. People do not know what relaxing is. You'll get an umbrella and go sit out in the backyard and they're relaxing. That's nonsense. Meditation is really the only option you have for really relaxing. But it takes you in it, thinking from it, to be it now, here, and now is the appointed hour of desired change. And if that's not what you're looking for, what are you going to church for? If you're not looking for desired change. So if you are, here it is, already wrapped up, and now you take it home with you. And if you don't take it home with you, then you missed it. And that's what God tells you. When you ask, believe you have received and it's yours. God has said that to you. Has he not?
Absolutely. I'm hoping that they'll go back and listen to what you just said a few moments ago, but I'm going to repeat it. You said meditation is you being in it, in the meditative state, thinking from your ideal state, whatever that ideal state is. So let's say that Emma's dealing with stress. Then you think from not being stressful. The stuff that normally with stress and anxiety, there's a cause. See that cause being resolved. This is what Mr. Lindell was saying. Think from it already being done. As you begin a lot, and I know that we think that this is fantasy and that this is make-believe and this is storytelling. And so this is how your mind works. As Mr. Lindell said a moment ago, everything's happening right now. So when you look at it as being resolved, you can't look at it as being resolved and be anxious about it. And if you give it time, the resolution that you're worried about is going to be brought about. But you got to, like Mr. Lindell says, you got to be in the state thinking from it as it already is now.
So, in self and risen. It's a drama for everybody. It may take this turn and that turn and this, I would say, crazy virtual reality that we're going through right now. It's all a dream. No, nobody. No, he's a God of the living, not the dead, and he keeps telling you that. throughout the scriptures, he's telling you, I'm not a God of the dead. I'm a God of the living. Live it. Really live it. Look, this is supposed to be a dream. I mean, why are you having nightmares? Because you ordered them up. You see, that's the thing of it is that the people are not being careful what it is they're talking to themselves about, thinking that it doesn't mean anything. It was gone tomorrow. No, it didn't go that way. It went that way. In other words, it's your life. As you think, you are, you do, you be, you have, over and over and over. That is stressed. But you have to slow down to actually even comprehend it as it's supposed to be, as you're supposed to be, relaxed. Relaxing is something that is almost impossible for humanity to do. They're always jumping around like rabbits in their ideas and attitudes and then wonder where they're at, you know. And I find myself there too. But the point is that after 40 years, I got a little better at aiming it.
Yeah.
And you will too. Because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. Stop denying yourself. All denial is self-denial. God has said, don't deny yourself, because that's what you're doing. Every time you deny somebody else, you're denying self, because you're saying if it's that way for them, then it's that way for me, because God is no respecter of persons. So why would I get off and
Absolutely.
him not?
Yeah. Yeah. You said something, and I want to touch on as we're winding this one down. Emma and anybody else dealing with stress, and especially as you're dealing with the holiday month and so forth, as we're winding down this year, be patient with yourself. I know that Mr. Lindell will say this over and over and over again. Blessed is the man, the woman who does not condemn themselves for that which they've allowed. Be patient with yourself.
That's it. That's the relaxing.
Yeah.
When see, if you're thinking negative on yourself, you cannot relax.
Yeah.
No, no way. It doesn't happen.
No.
It won't happen. So, first of all, you got to get to be friends with yourself. You have to actually talk to yourself. Have literal conversations with yourself. And no, that doesn't make you sound crazy. It makes you sound sane. And that's the way you get sanity. You talk to yourself. You are there to convince yourself, to convey to yourself that there is, you can, whatsoever has already been provided. All you have to do is ask. And you're asking, or you're asking amiss. Now that's very, very simple problem right there. You're asking, or you're asking amiss. Do you know the difference? That's the difference that makes the difference. You thinking feelingly about what? And there's that word again, what? Because you are thinking all the time. But what? Just ask yourself, am I choosing this, or am I being chosen to do this? That's the difference that makes the difference, isn't it?
That's absolutely right. And you said it, and I'll be brief as we're winding this down. Asking amiss is focusing on that which you don't want.
That's right.
Asking for what you want is focusing on what it is that you want. So whatever you're giving your attention to, as Mr. Linder just stated, that's the prayer. And the question comes back to what?
And all prayer is answered. And when I say that, I always get negative return. all prayer is answered. If you got it, then you ask for it. God does not make mistakes like that. You do. You have. You will until you learn to think for yourself, right?
Absolutely. I think this is a good talk. I think that they're going to benefit from this one. So I appreciate your time, and we're going to wind this one down. So give me 1 second here.